within 10 seconds of him being in charge, she like bangs her head. So which is fine because kids bang their head all the time. But right now they're going from sleeping in bed playing puzzles on my phone to going to eat donuts. So that's what they're going to do.
I'm telling you, one up him. When you have to watch her, order a pizza in bed with her. And stay in the bed with him.
You watched Ice Age yesterday for like an hour.
That has to be probably like the biggest possible insult. Here we are, and welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. Today, we have our most prepared guest ever, Katie Jones, my neighbor and dear friend. But before we get to Katie, Lily, Becky, Spain, California, how are you?
I'm
okay.
I probably should have done that in order.
I guess we'll go in age order, Lily.
Yes.
I defer to you.
I am less than a week ago. I turned another age. It was my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Which one of us got you the better present? I just want to know.
Oh, that's
I cannot say because
she hasn't received yours yet.
Well, I saw a picture of it. You had the great, phenomenal folk singer Dan Byrne write a dedication to me on a poster that says it's a picture of him that he drew, a self-portrait, and he has a bubble thought saying, "Where's Chi-Chi?"
That he bought for you a week after your birthday, proving he had no birthday present planned for you.
I knew I was going to see Dan Byrne after Lily's birthday. I
purchased mine 3 weeks before your birthday.
This is true, and Mom brought it, and it is an array of products for self-care, one of them being bath salts with CBD, which is very California.
Don't sniff those.
And a candle and like my favorite scent and a very healthy chocolate bar, and it's like a lot of self-care, which I love. And yeah, Becky, it's very, very thoughtful. I'm very California.
But like one is super unique that you couldn't get otherwise.
So like enjoy staring at your poster while you take a beautiful CBD bath salt
I want you to know,
while doing your nails and eating candy. And
I want you to know, I met the great Dan Byrne, one of our favorite musicians dating back to when we were all in college, like almost 20 years ago. Not only was he a wonderful gentleman, but our dear friend Rachel, who was on the show to promote Project Hera, Rachel Levitin, she opened for him and was amazing, and he was so nice to her in the middle of the show. He thought she was so awesome. In the middle of the show, he stopped what he was doing just to have everybody applaud for her and talk about how great she was at setting the tone for the night. And he was so nice afterwards, and we chitted and chatted, and he signed stuff for both of you. I didn't even get anything signed for myself. He signed stuff for both of you, and it was wonderful. The other thing I want to ask you guys about before we get started is my children are right now getting haircuts, and when I send my wife to get when my wife takes the kids to get haircuts, I don't send her.
Your wife?
I don't send her because I wouldn't
send her, Shy.
I wouldn't remember.
I order my wife.
You send her to
take care of my
No, I wouldn't remember to get haircuts ever for my kids. But when she goes, I send her with instructions. I don't send her, but I send her with instructions not to mess up their hair, because once she took my younger child to get a haircut when she had the cutest little chickadee hair in the world, and it came back very bangsy. And I just wonder if this is like a mother thing, because Lily and I both saw the haircut that Becky's daughter got. And Lil, do you want to explain to Becky what you...
I'm going to explain a few things. One is that Becky sends us this picture, and she's very lucky. Her child's gorgeous. Okay? Let's just start with that.
My kid has great eyes.
Second, Mom looks at the picture and goes, why would Becky let Vlad cut Miri's hair? Like, they
$25 for that.
They let him cut the dog's hair. Not already bad enough, but like, God, spring for a children's hairdresser, for God's sakes. And I was like, no, Mom, she took her to a salon. Mom's like, no, she didn't. I was like, yes, she did. And Mom's like, well, then she took her to like an adult salon. They don't know how to cut kids' hair. I was like, Mom, I could see other children in the background. She took the kid to a salon. I don't know whether the woman like was angry or not paying attention, but
she needed to even it out. My exact instructions were
use a level, a sextant, maybe a protractor.
Can you just clean up the back? And she said, okay, and then cut all her hair off and said, sorry, if you're going to even it out, it all had to come off. But now she looks like Peter Pan. It's very cute.
That is an accurate description. She looks like when women play Peter Pan in a play and they get that wig. But the immediate thing that I thought of, and this has brought me an immense amount of joy, all on my own, especially when I went and found the movie on Plex, on Shia's Plex, and watched the scene repeatedly, and then realized how good this movie is.
So good. It's where I learned about reproduction from.
For sure. And so if everybody has seen Look Who's Talking, if you remember it as well as I do, the immediate thing that came to my mind was when Mike, he's in the stroller getting walked by the nanny, like going for a walk, and he passes by all these like babes, and he's like, hey, you know, catch you later or whatever. And then he runs into one little girl who just got a haircut, and he's like, hey, you look great or whatever. And she's like, I just got a haircut. And he's like, well, it looks really nice. She's like, I don't know. I think I look like a boy. I can imagine. Like, I don't know. They cut too much. I think I look like a boy. And she's like touching her hair. And I'm like, this is what Miri's Look Who's Talking voice is saying.
Well, for 3 days after her haircut, she kept tapping her head going, hair, 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 hair.
She wanted to know
where
the
hell
was.
is it?
Yeah.
So
I recommend everybody go and watch that movie.
That movie's great. We should just do a recap of that movie. When I just need to know, and we can just leave this hanging for the audience, when is the appropriate age to watch that movie with your kids? Because
there's like stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like
I think we saw that in the theater when we were all little kids. But
I think I was like 6 whatever year it came out.
I remember seeing it at Plaza.
That is a version in the 80s and early 90s of a movie that is like they thought was appropriate for like kids and parents to go see together.
Yeah.
Like,
in the 80s, that was
with dirty
G-rated.
jokes for parents.
and
now it's all just like
it came out in 89. I would have been like literally 6 years old when it came out, and I'm pretty sure we all saw it in the theaters together.
And okay, now speaking of children being born and having birthdays and haircuts, our guest has a child who had a birthday. We celebrated with a little Carvel cake and some crunchies. I would like to welcome a guest who is long time coming, dear friend, a brilliant analyzer of pop culture herself, the great Katie Jones is here.
Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
Welcome, Katie Jones. That sounds like a folk singer from the 60s.
Yeah.
Katie Jones.
It's a great name.
So we have brought Katie here because if there is a gap in our pop culture knowledge, it is in reality TV. Now she is also
Steph, to be fair, Steph has filled the Bachelor area for us. She's come on.
Steph has talked about the Bachelor.
Steph is gonna love this episode.
There's such a landscape of reality TV that will be covered today. It is so far beyond my scope of knowledge.
So
I feel like I'm gonna get a master class in it.
So before we get, so just so people know where we're going, we're going to do a little reality TV, and by little I mean last night when we were hanging out at the little birthday shindig, I was asking Katie if some of these were real.
Speaking of which, Becky's going to have to tell you a funny story about that.
Okay, and then because Katie is also a renowned expert on 90210, and because we love the reboot so much, we're going to talk a little bit about the 90210 reboot. But first, Katie.
Yes, very excited.
As we get started,
sure.
Just rattle off for us the oeuvre of reality shows you are watching, and Becky and Lily, feel free at any time to ask questions about what these are.
Yeah, so I just want to give a little bit of setup and also say, as I was thinking about the real swath of reality show that I watch, I was embarrassed as I made this list. I was like, I do have a full-time job, I do have friends, I do have family yet. Like, I really do consume all of this. So I want to say that the reality TV that I like to watch is really kind of anchored in lives that
Katie, I just want to interrupt you for a second to say on this podcast, there is no shame.
Okay.
No, yeah, there's no shame. There's no guilty pleasures.
My friend, you are applauded, and then amongst your peers here.
Thank you. So I like to anchor it really in like lives that are not like my own and like choices that I can't imagine making. So like that's really going to be the common thread that you see as I begin to list. But I also want to say then there's also like this balance of like I really don't want to watch something that's sad. Like I don't want to watch sad lives. Like when like you watch people who are like disintegrating in front of you, like I don't want to consume that.
So Celebrity Rehab is not your idea.
Not my thing. Even like 90 Day Fiancé, which I have been recommended over and over and over, to me there is just like a fundamental sadness to it that I just don't want to consume. So with that said, currently, again, one other caveat, these are really like 6 to 8 episodes, so it's going to be a very long list, but they're not all on at the same time. So, so right now I am currently consuming Basketball Wives, which is VH1, Sister Wives, TLC. And then we also get to now the Bravo canon, which is really Vanderpump Rules, Top Chef, Project Runway, Real Housewives franchises, but not all of the cities.
So wait. Just so you know, before Katie gets to this list, this is not all of the cities.
This is not all of the cities.
This isn't all of the cities, but my question is, are all the ones that are on there, are any given multiple city at the same time, or is it every season's a different city?
No, so
are you telling me all of those cities are simultaneous?
They are not simultaneous. They run in probably like, I don't know, 8 to 10 week increments. So like, but the spring is always a busy time because you will have like 3 Housewives franchises on at the same time. And then the summer it kind of fades out and you might only have 1 or 2 running at the same time.
Only 1 or 2.
Only one or 2.
Can I just say, I am so happy that you named the networks these are on. We have had listeners write to us and say, can you please tell us what these shows are watching because we can't find them. And so everybody knows now what channel these are on.
Yeah, so I have a strong Bravo canon. And so Real Housewives of Dallas, Atlanta, Potomac, Beverly Hills, and New York City.
Now let's just ask my sisters, where is Potomac?
100% thought that Potomac was a joke, that you just put that in there as a joke. None of the 3 of us thought that was a real one. Lily, you're going to be like, of all of these, which one's the fake one? We all would have been like, to Potomac. That's not a thing.
Potomac is like near here, and I didn't believe it was real.
Isn't that the river that goes by your house?
Yeah. Well, not like, yes. Yeah, it's a neighborhood.
Well, not like by your house, whatever.
It's a very nice neighborhood near here.
And we can get into them in more detail. What I will say, what drew me in Potomac is one of the women lives in Arlington, and she owns a restaurant that my first baby shower was at. So I was like, I know exactly where that is. I'm in. So, but it's actually, I think, one of the greats. So
is it?
Oh, and then you have Kate. Okay. Is this the same Kate plus John?
Yes. So again, this is one that like
that seems like a train wreck. That should go into your sad category.
They're still on television,
which is why it's a very sparingly that I watch it, because it does waver. So back in the day, I did watch John and Kate plus 8 because, again, like anchored in a life that was not my own. Like, what would it be like to have 8 children? Like, oh my goodness!
They're twins, or
they have twins. They have twins that are now on their way to college, and then they have sextuplets who are like 13.
Okay, 6 plus 2.
Wait, I don't understand. So they were a family of 10. Conceive these sextuplets?
They did not naturally conceive. No.
Who puts 6 eggs in?
It just feels like highly unsafe to do that to human's body.
So that was one where like back in the day I watched it and then it got like too real, too sad. And then I would kind of like dabble in here and there when like there wasn't anything else on the DVR. And then like, sure enough, I was like, no, too much, like pull back. So that's like the current swath right now that I watch.
Do you guys have questions about any of these? Because my biggest question whenever this comes up is, what is a Vanderpump? And is it related to Van Wilder? Is it related to Van Wilder?
Question. I agree.
What is it? And Katie, you tell me if I'm right.
Sure.
Okay. So I thought that it was, I mean, let's just forget. I obviously thought it was something that it was not. And I was convinced that that's what it was. And so I finally one day was like, I need to actually research what this is, because there's no way there's like this made up TV show of what I'm talking about, like in my mind, what I imagined. And so I understand that it is a former, or is a housewife, a real housewife of maybe Beverly Hills. I'm just going to like go out there and say that.
Correct. Beverly Hills, Lisa Vanderpump.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. I would not have known her first name. And she has a restaurant. So we are like going deep, like it's double downing on the reality, because she has a restaurant.
She's a restaurateur.
A restaurateur. I apologize.
Yes.
And it's a reality show about the waiters and waitresses who work at her restaurant.
That is correct.
Oh, so it's like a double layer meta.
A double layer.
Let me tell you,
reality TV.
And so it would be like doing a show about Bethany Frankel's Skinny Girl Margarita staff.
Correct. But let me tell you, I wrote a whole blog, one of the most popular blogs that was read from the organization I work, about what the nonprofit sector could learn from Vanderpump Rules. Because like the way that she actually like supports her staff. I mean, these are people who were waitresses who like came to LA, didn't make it, was now a waitress or a bartender in her restaurant. And now they are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, just like basically being recorded as they go out with their hijinks. I mean, may we all be so lucky as to have a fairy godmother that's like, hey, here, come earn this much money by just living your life. Like,
so is it like the movie Waiting? Like, are they playing pranks on the customers and sniffing the whipped cream?
It's more like cat fights and
arguing
over boyfriends.
Drunken, Ambien-filled hijinks, like, but non-intentional.
So Katie, you are someone who feels strongly about social justice.
I do.
And
if you couldn't tell by the quality of this can.
Well, I assume that
all those documentaries you've listed for us. Social justice.
I assume that there is an element of social justice in one of these. Like you just pulled that out of Vanderpump. Which one of these would you say is the most socially enriching, or is actually is contributing to society?
So if I had to choose, I would choose Project Runway. And here is why.
Oh my God, that's the only one of those that I watched.
But did you watch the most recent season?
No, I haven't seen them. I love, to be honest, I will watch any season that I come across, like out of order. Like I will even watch them as like single episodes, which makes no sense. But I do love the show. So I've not seen the most recent season where Heidi's not on it anymore, right?
Right. So Project Runway was like, one of the Bravo first ways that they rolled out reality TV, and then it left and it went to Lifetime, and I did not follow it when it went to Lifetime, and then Bravo brought it back, and now Christian Siriano, who is actually like a really famous designer who actually got his start from winning Project Runway, is now like the new Tim Gunn. He's like the new mentor. But one of the reasons why I would say it is the most...
He's so cute. He's really cute.
And he's good at his craft. Which again, like I could only hope that I would have the creativity of a fashion designer.
And this is a different Tim Gunn than who directs Guardians of the Galaxies, correct?
That's James Gunn, not to be confused with Sean Gunn, who plays Kirk on Gilmore Girls, which I am now deep into season 3 of.
His name is James Gunn? No, it's not.
Yeah, James Gunn. He's the fashion guy. He used to go into all the Midwestern wives' underwear drawers. No, Tim Gunn. Tim Gunn goes into the women's underwear drawers.
Tim Gunn is the fashion one, and it's not Tim Gunn who directs Guardians of the Galaxy.
These are two different Tim Gunns. This Tim Gunn, he actually got his start at the Corcoran School of Art in Washington, D.C., and then he was actually head of the design school at Parsons in New York City, and that's how he transitioned to Project Runway. But I do feel like
But he also used to do the thing where he'd go into people's underwear drawers and dress them up.
That was like a spin-off after the Project Runway.
Okay.
But getting back to the social justice, like they had the first trans model on this season of Project Runway, and so it was actually like, when's the last time we saw a trans model on Bravo, or when's the last time we saw a trans model on like major network television? I mean, it was probably something with Tyra Banks and Top Model, maybe. So like I just applaud them.
I think there was a trans model on Top Model at some point. But I will say, upon Katie's point, is that Siriano is an enormous champion for inclusivity for body type.
Yes.
He designs such incredible haute couture dresses for women in Hollywood or celebrities or whatever, who actresses who other designers turned down, like said, no, we won't. We can't make a dress for you. You're not size 0 or whatever, or sample size. And he says, come to me and I'll make you look phenomenal. And I think that's like a huge deal that he has that. He's always had that as his philosophy. And then he's now running Project Runway.
That's right.
A great message.
Fashion should be accessible.
That is very cool.
Exactly.
That is very cool. Okay, let's get to the Kardashians.
Okay.
Which is a big deal for my sister Lily and for my wife and Allie. I go up and put the kids to bed. I come down and the two of them are drinking on the couch, watching Chloe and Kim and Courtney, my favorite, and Caitlin and Chris and Kendall and Kit Kat and what are their names? Anyways, there's a whole bunch of them. Butterfinger. So, Katie, you don't like the Kardashians, though.
It's not that I don't like the Kardashians. It's that when I turn on E and the Kardashians are on, it actually hurts my eyes. Like my brain.
Is it the amount of bronzer? Is it the bronzer that's the glare off the
There's
TV?
so much going on in one shot. Like, because it's always inevitably like they're in.
I feel like they're just eating salads.
But so it's like the black marble against like the white onyx versus like the neon nails, and then there's like the bronzer, and then there's like something else, and then there's like a jewelry that you're like, where? Like, so I turn it on, and there's a lot to take in, and I was like, it hurts my eyes, it hurts my head. Like, I need something else.
And I mean, I don't know if. I mean, Project Runway, clearly, I feel like that's like in the upper echelon. But, you know, my dad, I was telling, he's like, what's the topic for this week? And I was telling him, and he's like, and I was like, even though like we're not the most like foremost experts on reality TV, and he's like, well, Becky watches that baking show and Great British Baking Show, but I feel like that's like a competition reality, which is Project Runway, and I feel like that's like maybe in a different category here.
I guess there is a difference between the competition-based shows that are actually skill-based and not drama-based, because there are like the sort of like sexual activity-based competition shows where people are locked on an island naked and tempted to cheat on their spouses.
See, Temptation Island. I can watch a competition show because it's moving, the plot is moving forward each week. What I have a hard time with the rest of these shows is that I feel like the episodes is just too slow, nothing happens.
I mean, yeah, it's like about a bunch of siblings just talking about things they're interested in.
Yes.
Except,
I mean,
who'd want to watch or listen to that?
No offense, but I don't watch our own show.
Making fun of their mom too.
Yeah.
So that's why the three of us are most like the Kardashians, except without the private jets and all that jewelry, I guess.
So if the Kardashians are not on your list, Katie, what are your top reality shows of all time? Because somehow I don't think Sister Wives is in the top 5 or 6 of all time.
So I tried to. Can we just put a point on that? I tried to watch that show, and it's like so intriguing, but it feels so like naughty to watch it. Like I feel like it shouldn't exist. It seems so inappropriate.
I know.
I feel so bad for these women, right? Like, and I feel like with the season that I saw, the part that I saw, he's like always getting arrested by the police for polygamy. How is this a drama? Put yourself on fucking TV on a reality show if you don't want people to know you're a polygamist.
I know. But again, like, choices I would never make, right? Like, if I was like really, committed to polygamy in this particular way of living, I would never go on a reality show, like, ever. So the fact that they were like,
it's a bit ridiculous, right?
Well, and I would also like to offer that they are probably the polar opposite of the social justice spectrum. I mean, so in terms of some of their beliefs, and they really feel like they're discriminated against in this country because they're polygamists, and I'm like, people. Calm down.
Right.
So my top 6 of all time, let me tell you, the thought I gave to this was, extensive. because I take it very seriously.
Katie went dark.
I guess I'm the one that watches the most reality TV of this gang because I agree with several of your choices.
So I would say first is Real World Season 1, New York. Julie and Kevin like fighting about racism in the front of their building. I mean, that was like ground zero of reality television.
That was a big deal.
I remember that. I remember them sitting in the little circle and like talking about their feelings, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Super intrigued. Also, always hanging on to see if Julie and Eric would get busy in the hot tub. Right? But that was when you wouldn't, like, the most you would see was a fuzzy image of someone from the head up, in a hot tub.
Right.
That's true.
It's not like it's devolved now where they're like, hi, it's been 12 hours. Want to have sex with me? So, like, this is back on, like, so season 1, New York City, like, that would be kind of my first. Then I would also say season 2, Real World, San Francisco with Pedro. I mean, like,
I remember that.
Right. Or even like Rachel, who's now like a congressman's wife. And she was like a Republican on MTV. Like, that was like, what?
Did you see the season in New Orleans? I really like that where one of
but that was way later.
Is that where
in
Puck
the series.
gets thrown off?
No, she married Scott Wolf from Party of Five, who she meets during Real World, and they're still married.
Yes. So that's a different woman. That's like a Kelly. She's like a blonde, and they live in like Utah now or something.
Wow.
So that would be 1 and 2. I would also say Road Rules season 1, which again I feel is like a bedrock of like The Amazing Race and things that have spun off from that. And that was just like pure Americana. Like I remember them in an RV, and they would go to small towns and help people with their small businesses. Like I remember them.
I thought they had to like win like drinking competitions in different towns.
But that was later.
Oh, okay.
Like season 1,
and just play beach volleyball.
It was Kit and Mark was like the sexual tension. Yes, and they would like. I remember there was one. They went to like this random motel, and it was like a scene from Cars where they came and like spruced up the hotel, and then they got like a clue to go to their next place. And I just thought like that was so nice that they're like helping small business and traveling, the country. So then I would also add Project Runway, because again, like I feel like that was about a craft, and I really love.
And you don't watch the Great British Baking Show, Becky's like favorite TV show of all time, and it seems that people.
I always feel like I'm learning something.
That show is amazing, but it is a little bit triggering for me in the sense that. For someone
makes you want to eat cake.
Oh my god! It's hard. One of the reasons why I don't watch Top Chef anymore is that I think it just like I would need to be eating while watching these shows, as they're talking about like sponge and
it's a little bit hard to watch it
and,
while pregnant. I'm not gonna lie. Most episodes end in just sitting with like a box of cereal and milk on the coffee table.
Well, but you're pregnant. That's different. I mean, I am pregnant at heart.
Your spirit animal.
Yeah, exactly. As a pregnant lady. But yeah, when they're talking about the crisps and the ladies get so excited about the sponge and the what are some of the other things they talk about?
It's a bit cleggy.
Whatever it is, I want to eat it. If it's
there's
cleggy.
Always a sous vide. There's always a pressure cooker situation. Like it's always good. So those, I think, are probably my top 4. I'm also going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to put Basketball Wives in my top of all 6, because these women...
That was the other one that I was like, that can't be a real show.
No.
So it's just the wives of basketball players?
Well,
very specifically?
Former wives.
Is it based on footballers' wives? Isn't there a British show that's about the soccer players' wives?
It's about the ex-wives of current basketball players.
Well, and
so they're not even wives, Katie?
So Basketball Wives... What the executive producer is Shawty O'Neal, ex-wife of Shaquille O'Neal, and it began with her hanging out with just like other women, other wives of that ilk. And as you know, many celebrity marriages do, that this one didn't last, so it has wound up being ex-wives. Like actually, Tammy, this is connection. Tammy from season 2. Real World San Francisco is actually on Basketball Wives now, because she was married to like Kevin Harnett or somebody.
I gotta tell you,
the premise for you.
No, the premise of Basketball Wives feels thin.
But see,
It's thin.
But isn't it the same thing as the Real Housewives?
Because they're not even married to these people anymore. It's like, here's just some people who were once married. Okay.
Who were once married, but again, like I am fascinated by their desire to hustle. And that the fact that, like, yes, they probably got some sort of lump sum settlement, and now they are all about making more bank for themselves and their kids. And they also, I'm going to put them on my all-time list only because I feel like they have very carefully maintained this balance of, like, being on a reality show, but then not having that be so at the forefront that you're like, okay, that all of this is fake. You're just doing this for the reality show.
Like they have other
You're telling
jobs.
me this. You're telling me this show has authenticity.
I find it fascinating. I don't know if I would say authentic, but I mean, a lot of like the Real Housewives franchises that have fallen off for me, like for instance, Orange County, like you can tell that these people just make their money from the show. Like this is not aspirational. It is not interesting. You are like making drama so you earn a paycheck. And like, that's just not interesting to me.
As opposed to a Vanderpump who has a business.
As opposed to a Vanderpump that has a business.
Okay.
So yeah, those are probably my top 5.
So I just watched Between Two Ferns, the movie.
Ah, yes.
Which is a documentary style thing, but the people are playing themselves. And I admit, at a certain point, I am sick. Excuse me. I am sick of. Yeah, I'm actually sick. No, I'm sick of celebrities playing mean versions of themselves. Like, it's become, like, such a shtick. Like, I found Will Ferrell in this show.
Like for you, like Keanu in Always Be My Baby, that is, like, the limit.
It's just like...
After that, everybody's jumping the shark?
Well, I mean, even that...
was amazing.
No, but even that was funny, but it's like a shtick now. Like, you don't expect anybody to play a nice version of themselves anymore. So Zach Galifianakis is, like, super annoying in this movie as himself, and Will Ferrell is. But you know where it works? Sometimes it really hits. And where it hit the most recently, and I could watch till the end of time over and over and over again, is BH 90210.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yes.
I'm just going to disagree with you on Between Two Ferns. I thought it was delightful and hilarious, and I'd watch it a third time.
To be fair, Galifianakis has been doing that for years and years and years.
He's not playing a mean version of himself. He's playing a completely fictional Zach Galifianakis.
The bits in the movie are very funny. As a movie, I find it's been a pretty annoying slog.
I thought the preview of the movie actually just showed the best parts of the movie, like with Bruce Willis, and he was like, "Where do you put your Oscar? I mean, your blockbuster movie award." Like that was like perfect.
Yeah,
I don't need to watch it for a movie of that.
The best moment was just... I mean, there were some moments where I laughed so hard I was crying, but then there was like the rest of it. But whereas Beverly Hills BH 90210. I think that they did such a great job. Katie has a lot to say about this.
I really do.
I think I'm never not going to have what to say about this.
Katie, there's like a lot of Andrea in your notes. Okay? Well, I'm just going to... I don't know if you noticed.
Oh, for sure.
It's a bit much. It's a bit much, Katie.
Because there's a lot of exclamation points next to her. And I just have to say, just the setup for 90210 is when Luke Perry passed, R.I.P., I texted Shy, and I was like, put me on the podcast. I have things to say about Luke Perry. And he's like, oh, well, we already have a guest. Sorry. And I was like...
You got a book way in advance with this
And then I was like, when am I ever going to get to come on the podcast? Because my genres and yours don't overlap. And so when the reboot of 90210 came on, I was like, I'm your person. Put me in, coach. So...
It's really too bad that Luke Perry had to die so that you could get on this podcast, though. Very sorry.
Too soon.
I actually had this really like deep sadistic thought. Like, do you actually think part of him dying is why it got moved? Like when they saw the outreach and they talked about the power.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Is this a good time to bring out my gift?
They were like,
you have a gift?
I have a gift.
Katie brought a gift.
Oh my God, Katie,
I'm really trying to one-up Josh as like the most prepared.
Wow.
Yes.
So people put up a special edition 90210 in honor of the reboot. So I brought you the commemorative 90210 people.
Amazing.
So it talks about how it started. It talks about the reboot. So I just thought it was apropos to bring it. And as a little artifact here for the Nook.
This is great. They're going to have a spot of honor. Oh wow, they're like in the original clothes here in the cover.
Yes, for listeners, the cover is really like that iconic poster that everybody had on their wall, where they're all like laying on each other's stomachs that they like recreate later in the show. So that's the cover.
Are they laying on each other in this?
Well, it's like the beach one.
Oh, okay, I get it.
You know, that beach season, again, going back to like the fundamentals of 90210, that beach season like differentiated 90210 in a particular way.
Still my favorite season.
So I found the 90210 the reboot incredibly satisfying.
So okay, overall reactions, because I think at the last time we talked about this, at least one of my sisters hadn't finished the show yet. Lily, you hadn't finished it yet, right?
Yeah.
Have you finished it since?
We're good. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, all right, cool. All right.
Whether I remember what happens is another story, but we got Katie here. We're good.
Katie, what overall reaction to the reboot? Because at first I was with you when we watched the first episode, and you were confused for the first hour.
The first episode was really trippy. It's like a play within a play. Like, you know, it was hard to ground myself. But, you know,
you hadn't watched Hours of So Notorious like I had, so you weren't emotionally prepared the way I was.
Correct. But when you gave me that grounding, I was like, okay, I can get into this. So a couple of just top line thoughts of the season as a whole, and then we can get into like specific episodes if appropriate. But the first thing that I noticed was like you could tell the people who had grown in their craft. So like I kind of liken it, and I know that you all aren't necessarily watching Gilmore Girls, but I've like it kind of liken it to the Gilmore Girls reboot, where like you could tell like Melissa McCartney in the Gilmore Girls reboot has just grown so tremendously in her craft over the last 10 or 15 years they were off the air. So like I really found personally that like Gabrielle Cartier is like, I found that she was like the most substantial, like she did the work of the craft versus like, you know, I'm gonna say like an Ian Ziering or like Sharknado, what crafty? I don't. So like I really thought it was like a differentiator of the actors.
I feel like it's a little too obvious that you have a serious soft spot for Andrea. Like clearly,
I have a hard time. First of all, I thought she was great and very substantial. The amount that she looks like our mom, though, and I will never not stop saying this, is so unnerving to me.
It's very hard to watch.
It's hard to not, like, we've had many times in our life where we've thought our mom was a different character in pop culture, right? Like
true story.
Yeah, if you ever watched Today's Special, we were kids independently. All three of us thought she was Jodie from Today's Special.
One of the greatest confusions of my life, watching Today's Special and then mom calling me downstairs for dinner and going, how is this possible? How could she be in two places at once?
And if you know Jodie...
She's very tanned and had a huge perm.
Yeah, that's mom you're talking about.
That's our mom.
Yeah.
And so exactly. And then, but then... when you see, like, if you line Jodie up with Andrea Zuckerman, it's very confusing.
It's just very confusing. Yeah.
I believe I said, and I can send it to you guys, there is a New Yorker article about basically the awesomeness of the 90210 reboot. And one of the things that it said was the fact that the reboot has acknowledged, like, there's a sophistication to that reflects the aging of its anchor audience, but still like the immediate gratification that the anchor audience got when it first ran. So I feel like Andrea Zuckerman or Gabrielle Cartier is like a good representation of that. Like she still has like all the nerdy outsider stuff that I certainly identified with for the first, you know, run. But in this, like, she's a boss. She's like the president of SAG, like
and,
you know,
and in real life.
And I
she's
feel
also
like
the president of SAG in real life,
right? And
that's her job.
And I think like
hilarious.
her storyline was also like the most nuanced. Like Kelly Taylor, like, oh, okay, like boyfriend circling through boyfriends, great, saw it. But like I found Andrea's like really interesting.
I see what you're saying. They gave her more meat to work
Correct.
with.
And I think that is something about this version of the show that you couldn't have done if you just did 90210 again. Because if you continued 90210, I think if you went this deep, it would be confusing for people. Whereas in this way, they were able to still live out things from the show, but let you play in a sandbox where people were more real. Does that make sense? Becky looks confused.
Yes. No, I agree with you. I agree with you that it's more interesting as far as character development goes to try and root them in their real personas and fictionalizing that than going back into these characters that we had that we put to rest, that we finished with. Anyways, yeah.
Okay, so if we're projecting forward now, the relationships on the show, to get very shallow for a moment.
We started at Sister Wives.
Okay,
we're okay.
We have Brian.
And only move up, Shy.
We have Brian and Shay.
Yes.
We have Tori and her husband.
They're not making it.
We have Jason
They're
and
also
Jenny.
not making it.
And we have Andrea and husband or Emily Valentine. I would love the group's prognosis for each of these couples.
Before we get into that, can I just say also, like, the shout out of the reboot to actually diversifying the cast so it's not all white people. Like, I really appreciated, like, seeing.
Although I 100% agree with you, but every time my husband sees me watching it and like walks by, he's like, "Where's the Mexican guy?" And I'm like, "You're talking about the oeuvre of 90210, and that guy Jesse is the only thing you have to say about this." It's all he wants to know. Where's Jesse? Where's Jesse?
So sorry, I interrupted you, but shout out for Shay and Jenny. So
okay, so Brian and Shay,
not making it.
You don't.
They have 3 kids together. I think that would be like really, really sad if like they break up just because she's more successful than him, and they have like 3 children and built a whole life together. Like they should make it.
And she was right that kid was not his son.
But
so far she's been right about everything.
I don't think they would break up because she's more successful than him. I think that they would break up because she is not openly communicating with him about, like, I have suspicions and I'm going to hire a private investigator.
Yeah, but ultimately she was right about everything. So I kind of feel like she's smarter, more successful, and like a bigger badass. Like he's lucky to have her.
I feel like she should leave him in this scenario.
Yeah, honestly, she's the adult in the room taking care of things. Suck it up, Brian.
Do you think that's what's actually going on with Megan Fox then?
I don't know. We haven't heard from Megan Fox in a while.
I believe that this is a reality show. Is that okay?
so in your mind, David Austin Silver is married to Shay.
David Austin Green.
I mean, he should be so 100%. Lucky.
Is married to Lala Anthony.
That was okay. All right, Tori and her husband, who seems both ungrateful and put upon.
Tough look.
Is that what her husband's really like? Is he just like a dull?
Oh my God,
he's terrible.
I feel so. She must be so pissed at him in real life because she makes him look like a turd on the show, and that's pretty much what their life is like in real life. I say they have 5 kids, not 6, and he cheated on her, and I feel like she's getting payback.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, when she did So Notorious, she had Lonnie Anderson play the evil version of her mother. That was hilarious.
There you go.
So
I think she's like on board with this.
Okay, so she's just getting a little bit.
She goes for the jugular.
Yeah, I think that she is a true hustler, and just like in the show, she has to make it happen for her family. And so if she's gonna have to vilify her husband on network cable so they can make money,
that's a great.
I think she's willing to do it.
I think that is a brilliant angle because her husband in real life, I could see him getting on board for that justification. So there you go. Mm-hmm. I have watched have you not watched any of the reality TV? Because I have.
No, I have not watched that.
Sure. No, I was talking to Katie.
It's just
Katie, I recommend
Tori Spelling being broke.
Just pick up one episode.
Oh, no.
Yes.
I did watch it. When they were on the couple's couch, and she's like, I do things in the bedroom that no woman that has 5 children should do. And I was like, is she this good of an actress? Like, this doesn't map, so this must be true.
He cheats on her. They've got 5 kids. Like, she had just had her baby or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they go through couples therapy and everything. And it's all on her show.
Yeah. Damn.
Oh, wow.
It's really
So
sad.
to just meta that up, what if she had him cheat on her, or he didn't at all, in order to just make the show more interesting?
That's one of the conspiracy theories, that they actually planted it because they were so low on money that they planted
and
it.
ratings.
Right.
Oh, well, then she's a good actor.
So, well, I don't know.
So Jason Priestley and Jenny have like a thing going. He leaves his publicist wife.
If they get together, that won't end well.
Yeah, they're not meant to be together?
They are not meant to be together. They would never make it.
All right, let us move along to our recommendations. So I'm just going to finish my thoughts on Between Two Ferns. There's a bit. I just want to say there's two bits that are absolutely hilarious. When he talks about Paul Rudd hiding his Jewishness, and when he messes up Benedict Cumberbatch's name, those were just worth going back to, even if I found the movie to be a slog. I watched the first episode of Stumptown, starring Corey Smulders, Michael Ealy,
I watched half of the first episode.
And Jake Johnson.
Her name is Kobe Smulders. Is that a real name, guys? Is that a
Kobe
real name?
Yeah, we have a cousin Kobe. Khalid's brother's name is Kobe.
Literally have a cousin
Do you
named
think
Kobe.
the Kobe is the part that I'm questioning?
As opposed to Smulders.
No, it sounds very Canadian. She's very Canadian. So here's my thing with the show.
Sounds like a porn name.
I love the main character. It's not Smulders. It's Smulders. Like mold.
No one can. Okay.
No one
Shy,
can-
what's your thing with the show? This is not okay. Shy, what's your thing with the show? Go.
I like the main actors a lot. I like her in this show. I like Michael Ealy. He's so handsome, and Jake Johnson is adorable.
So handsome.
And so even though this is a sort of by the numbers noir kind of show, I'd like to see like many episodes of it. I will keep coming back. It's similar to how I feel about The Rookie, which is nothing special, but I like Nathan Fillion. I like seeing him solve crimes. Rookie season 2 was just fine. It just restarted. So we got that. I went to the live taping of the AEW, the new wrestling company, and I was supposed to be on Take Two Takedown, and I was gonna be reporting on it. But by the time this posts, I bet they won't have posted it because not once but twice, John, Craig's co-host, conspired against me to ensure I was not able to be on the show. So there's a little bit of drama.
That's a serious accusation.
There's a little bit of drama. And
oh my God, do you think they can make a reality TV show about our podcasting?
I mean, about that would be kind of a funny reality show.
Corman Pump.
So I don't want to throw like a wrestling challenge down to him or anything like that. But anyways, I'll just have to do my AEW review on our podcast.
No,
you
won't.
Everybody suffers.
That is not a thing.
So that's for when you record a solo episode.
Yeah,
and Lily and I
but anyways, it was a lot of
correct?
fun. We were almost ringside. Kevin Smith walked by where we were, and
that's huge. That's worth going.
And what I will say about this is that it was the most diverse crowd I've ever been in at an event in Washington D.C. Like other than Barack Obama.
More diverse than Dan Byrne. The white Jewish folk singer?
Yeah, other than Barack Obama's inauguration, I had not seen all of Washington D.C. represented the way it was represented at this wrestling match, and it was a lot of fun. Everyone all together, every possible background you can think of. Very, very cool. Then last night I saw Yesterday with Allie, the movie about the guy who remembers all the Beatles songs and no one else remembers them.
I really want to see that. How was it?
And if you think so, Bohemian Rhapsody, Rocket Man, Yesterday, Blinded by the Light are all movies that capture a certain artist's soundtrack in them. And each of those movies have varying degrees of the movie being good versus the music being good. This is the one where the movie is not good. And the music is really
It's so sad. Poor Danny
the
Boyle.
movie, this was 2 hours, nothing in it was special. The songs were pretty good, but you're watching some other guy play them, but he's not he's talented, but the whole premise of it is that he's not a particularly interesting artist. There's a nice little twist reveal at the end, but honestly, this could have been a short film. And the best part of this movie is definitely the Beatles songs, because the Beatles songs are amazing. But even then, there are other movies that have had Beatles songs in them, and they're, like the Cirque du Soleil was better than this. So I think this was a pretty lame movie.
Wow.
Yeah, I like, now that I thought about it, like, I thought this was a lame movie, buoyed by the Beatles songs. There's a couple of really interesting, poignant scenes, but aside from that, I did not. It is a rent to meh. And Ed Sheeran is in it. Like, the supporting actor of the movie is Ed Sheeran. He's
the Emily Valentine of this movie. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, like there's this whole thing about how Ed Sheeran is the best songwriter alive today.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's what they could come up with?
Yeah. So, I mean, and he's not bad in it. He doesn't play like a jerk version of himself, so I appreciated that. But, again, like, the person with the third most screen time after the main character and the love interest is Ed Sheeran.
Okay.
I think that sums up the movie. Becky, what about you?
All right, so I watched Late Night, which I believe is on Prime. It's the one that Mindy Kaling wrote with Emma Thompson about this late night TV host, and it was like a solid renter. It's not a great movie, but it was relaxing and entertaining enough to watch at home one evening. Truly, though, my absolute favorite.
Wait, what did you watch that on?
I think it's Prime. I'm pretty sure I watched it.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, because I don't want to pay to see that movie, but
no, exactly. And I wouldn't pay to see it. It's, something, if it's included in a subscription, I'm happy to watch it. It has some cute jokes, it has some good bits, but I feel like it's a Mindy Kaling bit we've seen before of being like, I'm the odd man out. I have to be extra special. And it's cute. It's like, but I feel like I've seen her do this bit a few times. But truly the best part are Emma Thompson's outfits. Incredible. Whoever the stylist was for this movie, that was the most fun.
I strongly agree. I saw that as my birthday treat movie. I actually took myself to the movie theater by myself to see Late Night, and I strongly agree.
Oh, okay. There we go. Thank you. And then another thing I saw was last night I went to a live musical performance. I went to a concert, which is a rarity for me these days. And it was beautiful and super fun. We saw the Milk Carton Kids. They're like, they're a folk duo, kind of a very Simon and Garfunkel-y type folk duo. It was a really beautiful show. If they come to wherever you live, I really recommend going to check them out. So that was very.
You're going to go see Dan Byrne? You got Dan Byrne tickets?
I got Dan Byrne. I mean, tickets is such a strong word. He's literally playing at a bar like 5 blocks from my house.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like at a small bar. So
this is a really special show. He is on fire right now.
We did buy our tickets for that, but it's great because I don't remember the last time I saw a show for like $20. So it'll be really exciting. Yeah, that's not until November.
Yeah.
Lily?
Okay.
Oh,
Lily,
sorry.
you've got to fix whatever's going on with your phone, Lily.
I'm in the car, and because I'm melting,
no, but
I had to turn the car on.
Well, you got to take it off.
You got to take it off
car.
Bluetooth or something. It sounds like you have mom's phone.
Relax. Can you guys relax a second?
Fanya, get it under control.
While Becky was on talking, I turned the car on.
Do you not know how to use
into a puddle?
Don't know the mute.
It was on mute, and I took it off mute because it got onto the Bluetooth. But I very quickly was able to turn it back onto the AirPods. So chill out, the two of you. Jesus,
we have high standards here.
Yeah, well, I got it together really quick. Spy. Started watching it. It's very intense and very good.
Wait, the movie with Melissa McCarthy? Did you watch that with Mom when she vomits on the dog? Is maybe the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
No, this is the Sacha Baron Cohen one.
But I watched that movie with Mom, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. When she kills the guy and then throws up.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mom was dying. It was amazing watching that movie with Mom. And so I watched Spy, the Sacha Baron Cohen. He executive produced it, directed by Gideon Raff, who did Homeland. I think it's Raff. Is his last name or Graff?
The Ellie Cohen movie.
Yes,
it's a series. Is it a movie or a TV series?
It's a TV show. It's a TV series. I don't know if there's more than one season, if it's like a mini-series type thing, because I'm not sure that there can be.
I'll tell you this, when they get to the end of that story, there's not going to be a sequel. It's a very sad story.
Right. It's a very sad story. But at the beginning of the show, they pretty much tell you the ending. So you're kind of like going into it knowing.
He dies.
But it's, but it's fascinating. And it's very well done. His acting is great. Dad couldn't stop saying, like, he's so tall and he's a really good actor. And it's like, yeah, he's incredible.
It's not possible
like,
at the same time.
I guess.
Not typically go hand in hand, being tall and a good actor, I suppose.
It's just like he's very, very tall. And so he's excellent in it. And the guy that played the FBI agent on Americans, and Heinrich, or whatever his last name is, they're like, he's in Beautiful Girls as one of the friends. You've seen him in like a ton of movies.
I don't watch the Americans. Anyways, sure.
Anyways,
a guy is.
He's been in a ton of movies. He's great too, and he's in it. Anyways, I recommend that. And I saw Tall Girl because I'm determined to see all the schlocky romantic comedies on Netflix, humanly possible. But that one wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty good, and maybe one day it'll like teach a lesson to like your kids shy about like going through struggles in high school or something. These movies make me wonder, does the next generation have no good teenage comedies to watch?
Well,
and that makes me very sad.
On Schooled this week, or last week, on the first episode of Schooled of the season, which I thought was actually really funny. I thought Schooled was a great return for that show. They had a whole bit about going to see American Pie. And the kids asked me, what's American Pie? And I'm like, it's a movie about teenagers that you cannot see until you are a teenager.
Well, like they're just going to end up watching our teen movies. Because,
I wonder, and it's controversial, we can dive into it on another episode, is the reason there are no more good teen movies being made, is it because everything has to be so...
PC?
No, yeah, and like movies like Can't Hardly Wait... Like we're not particularly
16 Candles.
Well, I mean that's like a whole different era of horrible things,
rape issues, and racism.
Yeah,
but still,
yeah.
It's a privilege that those were not rules yet. I guess that's a terrible thing to say. Booksmart is a great movie and it's wonderful, but it's a bit too smart to be in the pantheon of Breakfast Club and
I'll say before I say it again, Booksmart is good for 2 acts, and in the third act it just like completely falls apart.
Also, they make a really big deal that they don't want people calling it the girl version of Superbad, but then I rewatched Superbad and it's like literally the opening scene is like the same opening bit with the
sibling of the main character.
Right, so I'm like, yeah, sure, it's a different movie, but it's very close in line.
And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing either.
I agree. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's like an updated, smarter version.
One of the funniest jokes in Between Two Ferns is when I forget who he asks about. He talks to Awkwafina about being in Ocean's 8, and he says, "I really want them to do a male reboot of Ocean's 8." And she says,
"That's a great one.
It already exists. They already did that first." And then he said, "What? You're going to tell me next? There's a male version of Ghostbusters?" So okay, all right. I understand what you're saying. And what else did you watch, Lil? Or do you have other recs?
Just Grey's is back. Katie, I don't know if you're down with that, but we've got a Cousins. Oh, this is a great quick thing. We have a Cousins chat of all our girl cousins that watch Grey's, and it's amazing. It like keeps us connected. But we do mostly just talk about the show in the chat. Like we go seriously deep into
There's
like
no
haircuts
puppy pictures
and
on
what
it.
Wearing.
No. We don't take pictures of kids and dogs or anything like that.
None of that shit. Like we are serious about
It's just
the show.
Ellen Pompeo.
And right, and people are every once in a while there's like a GIF or something. And Becky, we're talking about a storyline where a girl doesn't know she's pregnant, and we start getting into that, and they're like, "Oh, it's been done so many times." And one of my cousins mentions the reality show, and Becky's like, "There's a show about that?" And my other cousin's like, "Yeah, like at least on 2 separate networks, there was a show about
shows about people who don't know they're pregnant."
And Becky's like found her.
I believe at least one is on TLC. I do not consume. Again, too sad. Gotcha.
Like
so Grey's is back. It's not something I recommend to anyone unless you want to start at season 1. Okay.
There's 15 seasons of this show. I just want people to know that
16. We're in 16 now.
And I feel like Allie got in on it. Like I remember being at the shore at our cousin Shelly and Mindy's house, and Allie was there. We were all there or something, and Becky and I and Mindy and Shelly were talking about Grey's. It was somewhere maybe around season 8, 9, and Allie was like, "I oh, I don't really watch it. And we were like pre-pressuring her, and she started from the beginning and caught up.
No, but Allie, she watches it. It stresses me out. She watches it completely out of order. There's no system to the way she watches. I'm like, what are you watching? Oh, I'm watching an old one. Oh, I'm watching the current season. It's too. That's too stressful.
Okay, Shelley does that too, but I think we caught Allie up, and from there she started. She's been a loyal
After the Denny years, I dropped off.
Oh,
so like season 2.
2 or 3, because then there was also like that friction with there was a lot of friction behind the scenes. And remember, like Katherine Heigl removed her name from a best actor category
because she nominated for an Emmy, and right? She didn't feel the writing warranted her.
And I was like, too much, I'm out.
And she got kicked out of television. And then we've been watching a show called Victim Number 8, which I don't know if you guys get in North America, on Netflix. And
it's another Spanish murder show.
It's a Spanish murder show. And Dad was like, I really want you to watch. So Dad, guys. He's like, let's watch a show together. It's in Bilbao. Bilbao is on the show.
Oh, that's where you and Jose met, right? Or that's where you and Jose rekindled your romance.
Yeah, near there, about an hour from there. Becky was there. And he's like, I knew you'd want to see it because Bilbao is in it. And I'm like, you're so cute. The funniest part is that we're watching it. It's only 8 episodes. It's okay. Mom was like, this show is shit. I was like, lady, do you know what you watch? She's like, well, this is no NCIS.
Mom's like, put back NCIS St. Louis ASAP. I need some Mark Harmon. But I will say,
NCIS Potomac.
My mother-in-law got very excited also about NCIS. She said, do you know that there is an Israeli character on NCIS?
Shiva or something.
Ziva. And they thought she was dead, and she's back.
Close. So there's a spoiler.
All right, Katie, what have you been watching? What do you recommend?
So I'm going to recommend 3 documentaries, as Shai said, recognizing that they are the books of movies. But there are 3 documentaries that I would recommend. One that is called Hello Privilege. It's me, Chelsea. And Chelsea Handler made a documentary about white privilege. And I wasn't really, I didn't have a lot of high hopes going into it. And I actually found it pretty thoughtful. So I'll recommend that. That's on Netflix. I will also recommend The Echo in Laurel Canyon, and that is a music documentary about groups in the 60s, so like the Mamas and the Papas, the Beach Boys, the Byrds, and basically how that has influenced music today. And like Jacob Dylan is actually the executive producer and interviewer on it, and then he has like Nora Jones and Fiona Apple, and they're also in it talking about like the influence of this music on their music today, which I thought was really interesting.
That is under the category of documentary I would watch because it's about music.
True, but those 3 people that you named, do they have music today?
It was so funny as my husband and I were watching it. We're like, "Hey, Fiona Apple, where's she been?"
Right.
She was also name checked on
Nora
Schooled
Jones.
On the first episode of Schooled of the season.
And then the last one, I will recommend. Again, it's on Netflix, so it's solid rent. Is Kathy Griffin has a new documentary out about basically free speech and the First Amendment and everything that she's been going through in the recent years, which again, like I just found interesting. So those would be my top 3.
Cool. And you have no social media, right? Like you don't want anyone to follow you?
I have 0 social media.
All right. So if
you want me, contact Shai.
Becky, where can people follow you?
At Paper BK Princess on Twitter.
And Lily, where can people follow you?
GGK Gomez.
And on Twitter. And you can follow me at Pancake and the number 4 table on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow all of the Friday Night Movie shenanigans at Fry Night Movie on Twitter and Instagram and FridayNightMoviePod.com. Becky's super interested. She just yawned over my announcing of our call.
No, I just realized I should probably check my Twitter like once in a while.
And then last but not least, before we go out on our music, just on another musical note, the Beanstalk Library. Former guest of our show, Ryan Walker, and his amazing band, of which my sisters now have Beanstalk Library T-shirts that have been made their way to you guys. Ryan and the band are going to be playing at Hill Country Barbecue on October 17th in Washington, D.C., which is not only a great concert venue, but a terrific barbecue place where you get to like weigh your meat before you eat it. Like you just act for meat by the pound. Anyways, they're playing a big show there. I will be there. I encourage other people who are local to go and check out that show. They are a terrific band with amazing songs. I know Lily has them like on her playlist all the time.
I love them. Love them.
And so I feel pretty privileged that I get to go see like one of my recent most favorite bands on a regular basis. So that's pretty cool. And then speaking of bands, What Does It Eat will take us out on the theme music, and we will dance our way into the evening. And thank you guys. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.